Welcome to Empowered Voices, real stories, real courage. I'm Nancy Boss. These archival videos are part of the Empowered Voices project, recorded during my international interview series, exploring confidence and the power of authentic expression. Each story offers a glimpse into how people from around the world find strength in their voices. Diane and I sat down in her high-tech studio in California for her to share her story of the cycles of her life. How just when she thought she'd made it at one place, then something would happen where she needed to start over again. Isn't this true for all of us? We've reached this plateau of what we finally wanted to accomplish, to have the ground fall out from underneath us and have to start at the bottom. Diane is an amazing example of how to accept this situation and keep going, building a better and better life that's more authentic and more impactful to your purpose. Here's Diane.
When my husband said, well, what if we quit our jobs? Oh, we're giving up $200,000. Oh, what if we sold our house? Where are we going to live? How am I going to take care of my baby? If I started asking all of those questions before I said yes, I would still be working 20 hours for somebody else, being beat up, sexually harassed, all of those things that happened up there. Yeah. And now I said yes. I was scared to death. We're quitting our job. I finally just am making now $170,000 a year, and you're telling me to quit my job, to make nothing.
Right.
Have no clients, make nothing, do nothing.
From scratch,
we were, in our 30s. I didn't have a savings account. I just started making that kind of money.
Yeah.
So it was a huge jump, but it changed. I'm a full believer in the manifestation process. You see what you want it to look like at the end. You don't have to know how, but if you start showing up, taking that next step that seems logical, the next step reveals itself. The how starts coming to you as you start moving through it. And I also believe that if you were to see all of those, number one, you'd be scared to death. But you wouldn't know when to pivot, because you do have to pivot in life. There are changes. 20 years, roller coaster, up and down, feast to famine. How I got to Riverside County from North County, San Diego was one of those famine times. How am I going to make all of this work? Business is 2008. Everything was crashing and pulling out. Do we have to go get real jobs? How do we make those changes? To know how to pivot and how to change doesn't mean that I gave up what it looks like at the end.
Yeah.
It just told me that, I shouldn't do that. I should do that. But if in my plan, that's what I was doing, I would have made the wrong move.
Right.
And that would have blown it all up.
How do you know when to give up on what you thought was right with your head and do whatever?
I don't know that I would say give up. Okay. Because I haven't given up on what my thought was. There's no give up. Okay. It's a change of direction. It's a change of, the intention didn't change. Right. Just the steps may have changed. Right. And because you have to be able to allow for those opportunities to come into your life. I was a Hollywood producer working in the mainstream industry. Right. And it was, I had worked for Disney, Universal Studios, Warner Brothers. Those were all fantastic, long, grueling days, but those were awesome. Yeah. And then I went to work in corporate video for a little while. All of a sudden, I was making a difference with something. I was working for a company that made medications for cancer patients. Okay. And it meant something. I was making videos about people who had their life saved by this medication or need to learn how to use the medication. So there was a point to it. And then I got kind of reeled back into the entertainment world when reality television hit, and I lasted about 11 months. It was literally a survive or fail industry in the reality world.
What was the day-to-day like that it was so uncomfortable?
Well, I had a leader at the time who really had that mentality that either you have done everything perfect, or if you missed one step, you just failed. It's not go back and pick it up or do anything. No.
Judgment, always negative judgment.
Always. And it was just very grueling and taxing. And it was one night I came home. I had missed dinner and bath time and bedtime with my son at that time, who was almost 3. And it was just night after night. And it was in a moment, my husband said, well, what if we sold our house, quit our jobs? And he's a professional actor. I'm working in the industry. This is 2003. We're both making fat 6 figures at that time. And I looked at him and I said, yes. And that shifted, that changed everything. I went in and I gave him a month's notice. We sold our house and we became entrepreneurs, and we started with a dream, not having a clue what we were doing and how it was going to work out. But it was that shift and that change. All I knew is I knew video production. I loved the industry and the mediums. So we were going to figure out how to make it work. And that was our goal. And it's been 20 years now. And here we are 20 years later.
My favorite part of that story is it appears that you two worked together. Like you weren't alone.
Right.
You were together with that.
It's interesting. That's been our whole relationship. We met, he was the bartender, I was the waitress. And so we worked together from the very beginning. We started a company at that time. It was Images and Imagination Children's Theater. And we were putting on plays in downtown Los Angeles, and we were busing children in to come see those plays. We did a couple of shows, and it was by the 3rd show that all of a sudden I didn't want to be in the shows anymore. I enjoyed the writing, the directing, the producing. And so I'm like, I'm going to be behind. And so I really started shifting and moving behind the scenes.
You have disabled people that work with here 25 hours a week. How did that happen? That's a big commitment.
We had a nonprofit at the time. We were probably like 3 years into the nonprofit. We were offering visual performing and digital art classes. And I was at a chamber event, and this woman walked up to me and said, I want to talk to you about an idea. I'm looking for nonprofits that would bring in somebody who has some sort of disability and allow them to work at your business. It doesn't cost you anything. It gives them experience. And I was like, well, I'm not even at mostly I worked out of my house at that time. So I'm like, no one's even here. Right. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to figure out a way to make this work. So, we brought somebody in because they were my assistant at the house. They started sitting here, which it just shifted everything, because all of a sudden now I have an employee here. And then we brought in this helper who within 3 months, I watched how this individual who loved audio. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to have them do, but they loved audio. They would ask questions. And for the most part, all he really did around here was he helped us keep the place tidy and clean. That was what his real function of his job was. But in the meantime, he would ask questions about audio. We would show him things. He was learning. He was picking it up so fast that all of a sudden we were like, well, you could come out on production with us and you could help us as a production assistant. So as I was bringing this back to the board saying, we have this, now I wonder if maybe we could teach other people how to do this. And so I went back to the person who introduced me and I said, well, could we put together some? She's like, oh, we would love that. And she's like, and then she handed me these 26 papers. She goes, you have to be a Title 17 vendor. Can you write this curriculum? And I went, oh boy. But I take every challenge with let's go for it. Yeah. And so I sat down and we wrote a whole program design. And next thing I know, May of 2018, we're vendored. And I had 5 people walk through the door that were referred to us. And now we've grown to a program of over 20.
And it's a big part of what you do now.
Yes, it's a major part of what we do. And even all the programs that have stemmed off of it, like our TV show, Spirit of Innovation, it's a vehicle to train them. But they get to start off by shadowing. Then they follow that up with doing. And then they get to start taking on their own segments. Like they'll write a segment, or they'll do the good to know, like community events, and or they'll work camera if they're more interested interested in that. So they find ways to then, some have produced whole segments. Some have won major national awards for the segments that they have produced and put together. And then they get aired. And I'm in a county of 2.5 million people that get to see the show.
Yeah. Cool. So you're empowering other people. You took your journey as an actor and a creator, and then you turned it into something where you can make other people fly. And that's really cool.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
I admire that so much. What would you share with people that you wish that people just knew?
Show up.
Show up.
Show up. That is 90% of the battle, is showing up. We don't know. Nobody knows what's coming next.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you don't know, and you might just know it. So show up and get involved. Jump in. When you don't show up, it's fear that stops you.
It's fear because there's a risk that you perceive.
Exactly. But if you're showing up and you're saying yes, it will unfold in front of you.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, we got a kazoo.
Oh, okay. I've been playing. It's been my little directing tool.
Yeah. It works best if you use the fat end.
Okay.
Do you have a song?
Oh, You Are My Sunshine.
Oh, awesome.
That was fun. I love it.
These stories remind us that courage sounds different for everyone. Join me for more voices from around the world that rise, connect, and resonate with strength and authenticity.